Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session. Today, we are going to talk about coronavirus, and it is a topic, that is of interest to lots of folks. We are living in an era where we have not seen anything like this before. So I know you've heard a lot about this virus. It is a matter to be concerned about, and my recommendation is, first of all, do all you can to avoid getting it. But if you do, we would share some information about what you can do when that happens. So this evening, we want to cover some immune builders, and I'll tell you why we want to look at immune builders. So just a little heads up that I looked on the World Statistic page today and was able to pull this up. Trinidad is like way down on the list, but America they have like the highest number of cases. Now, mind you, across the world, and these are figures for what have been reported, those who have been identified by the health system, and they have taken figures of the number of cases, the deaths, and they sort of track that on a daily basis with new cases and new death figures added to it. Right now, according to this, it's 1.4 million people that has contracted this virus. And again, the numbers are bigger than this because they do not really capture numbers where people die in their homes, at nursing homes, or if they died and they were not tested for coronavirus. So it could possibly be almost double this amount. So the US, they have like the highest number. Just today alone, they had 1,821 new deaths, and new cases of 26,000 plus. So it's like daily, the figures keep jumping, and as I track this, in the first week, I used to be really alarmed when I started to track the figures, and, after you get accustomed to it, it's like, you feel really sorry for what's going on, but it's a reality across the board. Interestingly, France, they have a high number of deaths within the last 24 hours alone. So a lot of our medical staff and the hospital facilities and the like, they have a huge number of people that, they're just flooded with those patients and who require care, and they have different level of needs. And so what you hear the message saying, try to sort of curb the spread. And that's what our government is doing now by telling folks to stay at home, is to reduce that spread so that they would not become overwhelmed in the health facilities. Too many people for the facility that they have and the number of staff that they have dedicated to this cause. So when you hear about coronavirus, you see these crown-like structures on this picture of the coronavirus. Corona, it's a Latin word for crown. So it's a virus, that has this sort of image like crowns all over. But it is a combination of viruses, and that it's not just one. They are like, it's a family name for a number of different kinds of viruses. So you would have heard about SARS and the MERS-CoV. And now we have this one, which is the novel coronavirus. Novel, it's new as of 2019, and it's taken on that name, COVID 2019. So where did it come from? The truth is, we could think about, well, animals usually carry coronaviruses within them. But where, this particular strain, where did it come from? There's a lot of speculation. The World Health Organization says, really, we don't know. So the point is that, wherever it came from, it is here, and it is something that we need to deal with. The symptoms. So you have fever, cough. So you might find you may have one or a couple of these symptoms. So the individual, it takes like about 7 to 10 days to develop and then get more severe. So you may contract coronavirus and not know, and because there's an incubation period, anywhere like from 2 to 14 days, you could incubate and then you start showing symptoms. It could be as little as 2 or 7 days you start showing symptoms. So fever, you can have coughing, and this is a compulsive cough where you can't do anything else but be coughing. And sometimes it's because the individual is trying to get air supply in their lungs. Sore throat is another thing. But you know, these symptoms can look very much like a flu. And folks may wonder, is it COVID-19 or is it a common flu? I'll suggest that in a time like now where you have COVID-19, treat it as if it is COVID. You know, we're not sure what you may have, but as you feel something coming on, you know, you isolate yourself and you know, take all kinds of precautions, wear a mask even in your home, and try and find a spot where you're not interacting with the rest of the members in your home. However, people, even before they show symptoms, they can be contagious. So one may have the infection and not yet show any symptoms, and they are contagious and can, you know, infect other people around them. So the runny nose, shortness of breath, chest tightness, breathing difficulties, loss of smell, fatigue, and it's extreme fatigue that individuals will develop. And once they have these, they may be trying to manage it, you know, doing a couple of things to try to get rid of it. But if it gets into your lungs, then you have a lot of breathing problems, and it could develop into a pneumonia type situation where you would be required to get help with oxygen as well as the ventilator machines. It can be linked to causing further lung damage. So that's why I say, you know, it's best to try all you can not to get it, because your lung could be damaged later on, and you have continued respiratory problem. Your heart can be affected, as well as your kidneys can be affected here just the same. And unfortunately, for some people, where they go into a severe acute respiratory situation or with pneumonia, they end up dying. And you know, a lot of folks who end up dying is because they have had some form of respiratory condition or a heart-related issue, asthma, diabetes, you know, those kinds of things put them at risk. So your nostrils and the mouth is like the entry point to get that virus into your body. And so you'd hear the caution, be careful about touching your face, especially when you're out there. Wash your hands repeatedly and regularly, and avoid that virus from getting into your body. But once it gets in, it attacks the cells in the respiratory system, and you begin to have, you know, the fever and so forth. And we talked about, we can look some more at the spread. You would see it's by the coughing, the droplets that will come out of the mouth, the nostrils, the runny nose, and so forth. So folks who use a tissue to cough into should be careful to throw that into the bin as soon as possible and not allow that tissue to come in contact with others, because they could pick it up from someone, or they can you know, pass that virus on to somebody else. So who are at risk? Our health workers are at risk. our nurses, our doctors, and those in the medical profession who are interfacing with COVID-19 patients, and even our nursing home folks at risk, just the same, people who take care of the elderly going to them, if they it could be exposed. Close contacts of the patient, like family, immediate family members, or somebody who may go to take care of that person. The obese, the elderly, and you find adults like over the age of 50, and you find even now the young children, they are showing that they are getting the virus as well. So there is a diagnosis where they will do like a nasal swab test to see if you have the COVID. To be tested, you really should be showing a lot of those symptoms, have some history of connectivity with somebody who recently traveled, or someone who got the virus and was tested positive for the virus, and you say, okay, I've been working with this person, I've interacted with this person, and then you would be tested as well. So if you do show the respiratory issues, and they may, and you have all of those other history with you, they would test you. In the medical world, there is not a vaccine for it. They just look at treating the symptoms and supportive care, and trying to make the patient feel comfortable, or give them oxygen if they lack that oxygen. One of the things I'd like to explain is that with the oxygen level, they actually, when the virus gets into your lungs, it depletes the oxygen level that is made available to your blood. So a blood test can be done, and they would check to see the amount of oxygen that is within that blood. Ideally, they're looking for 88% of oxygen in your blood and above. But once it falls under that, there is need for concern. Another thing is that because the blood is not getting sufficient amount of oxygen, the person would be extremely weak. And then they also would do, if you do have like respiratory problems, they would do like an x-ray on your lung to see the condition. And for folks who are like severe, their lungs, you can just see how much, like about halfway, three-quarter going up, that their lung doesn't have oxygen, one, as well as there's infection and damage of the lung taking place. And as it grows, and one day can make a difference. And within a matter of hours can make a difference from somebody coming into a facility at one, and you test them and you can see where their oxygen level is at. And within a couple of hours, they get into a more severe state and require lots more oxygen or a ventilator. So the thing is that we are not left without hope. We talk about prevention. So one, if you do interface with somebody who has it, could you get it? And if you do get it, how severe is it going to be? Our immune system that we have can actually fight for you. So our immune system is mainly within our gut, where it resides. And there are other parts of our body too that makes up the immune system. So your tonsils, your nostrils, and your bowels, your bone marrow, your skin, those are parts of our immune system. And so feeding it the right kind of food will help us to be able to be strong in our body. So this virus that is coming to us, we are able to fight it off and not let it overtake us. And what we're seeing is that a lot of individuals, because I've been doing lectures like this for about a month and a half now, and talking about building the immune system and how to take care. And a lot of people who have put in the recommendations into practice have come in contact with others who have been diagnosed and positive for COVID-19, yet they showed little or no symptoms at all. Just on Friday night, I was on a program and heard a testimony of a young lady who actually, she started, to take more of, say, like natural remedies, like lemon, onion, garlic, pineapple juice, all of those things, made a mixture and would drink. And then about 2 months ago, she dropped off all flesh, no chicken, no fish, no form of meat, and no cheese, because she recognized that when she had the cheese, mucus will build. And so as she dropped that off, she was going along fine. Lo and behold, she is someone who works at a nursing home. And one of her patients was tested positive for COVID. And so they said, everybody, all staff, go get tested. And as she went to test, she was positive. Yet amazingly, she showed no symptoms. So she's what you call asymptomatic. However, the thing is with individuals like that, there is a risk because they can actually infect others. So we were not quite sure about, whether she was infectious. So she, if it was like the level of the virus so high within her body that she could have been infectious, especially she was showing no symptoms. There was another young lady who, as she heard us talk about, all the natural things to use, began implementing, when we talked to her, because she said, I have it, I'm positive, I need help. So, okay, let's see, what do you have? And she had all that we recommended in terms of the supplements and different things to have, because she was using it. She knew she too was a healthcare worker. And when we spoke to her, it's because one of her patients had it and she was able to test, she's positive, and her symptoms were extreme fatigue and loss of smell. And she was speaking, sending me a voice note, and she said, I'm talking to you now, and I'm just feeling as if I want to cough, but she managed a conversation without even coughing. So she continued we said, okay, follow everything that we suggested, and we kind of like said, reiterated a couple of things, and she's fine today. And that was just like from mid last week to now. And so we're seeing over and over where building the immune system, and there are lots more stories, where it really makes a difference. So we want to see now what are some of the things that we can do to build our immune system. The laws of health that God has handed down to his church is what is our shield and protector today. The laws of health, they are readily available, and they are free, and it may seem simple, but it has a tremendous impact on our ability to survive the COVID-19 and more, even for longevity in our lives. And so when it comes to pure air, let's aim to have pure air within our surroundings. So you open those windows, you get the fresh air coming in, you have plants, green plants within your home, house plants, they tend to purify the air within the home. And practice deep breathing, exchange that stale air from your lungs and bring in new fresh air. Early morning is a great time to do that. And, with the deep breathing exercises. As you open your window through the day, change that air from inside out. Those who have air conditions, open your doors and windows at some portion in the day to exchange that air and get new air in. If possible, make it possible. have your windows open, or even if it's just an inch, you would feel that cool air coming into the room. It's helping you to get fresh air. That oxygenates your blood and helps to push nutrients to your cells while you are asleep and the cells are being repaired and strengthened. Sunlight. Sunlight is one of those mechanisms by which, when we expose ourselves to that sunlight, we are able to make vitamin D. There are thousands of viruses around the world that helps, that is killed and destroyed when exposed to sunlight. And even when we expose ourselves to sunlight, it kills bacteria, fungus, and viruses. So as dark complected people, we should be out there in the sun at least 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So you would say, Sister Nash, Sister Natalie, what are you talking about? I know we're living in the end of time and the sun is indeed getting hotter. I like to go out into sunlight like about 10, 11. It's still cooler, and you're not, so the heat is one thing, but you want the sun to be up in the sky at a certain angle so that you can make vitamin D. If our sun was not up so high, we would not be able to make vitamin D. As some countries right now, they can see the sun shining, but it is low. The degree angle of the sun is low, and it is not high enough to be at a range of an angle between 30 degrees on either side, 30 degrees up, not yet less than 30 degrees. If it is not higher than that, they cannot make vitamin D. So if you are not going out in the sunlight, and you should, because there are more benefits than making vitamin D when you go out into the sunlight. That light helps, other parts of our bodies to function, such as your liver, your breast, your prostate, your kidneys. They have cells. Even your respiratory tract has cells in it that tends to, here it is, the respiratory tract, the sinuses. They contain vitamin D receptors. All of our cells do. But what is interesting with those in the respiratory tract is that they can convert that sunlight into vitamin D. So there are a number of parts of our body that can help us to make vitamin D. So spend time in the sun. Our children are at home, let them go out into the sunlight, at some portion of the day. You go with them and you do some outdoor activity with them. So that they are getting the sunlight just the same. It would help to boost their immune system, keep away those aches and pains, in their little legs, and they would be better for it. So rest. If you are sleep deprived, you actually lower your immune system. If you do not get adequate amount of sleep in the nighttime, you lose some of these benefits here. So if you do get adequate rest, it helps you to get and make those cells more, and it increases the cells to fight harmful bacteria and to boost your antibody response. So when viruses and infections come to you, as well as to increase the natural killer cells in your body or what may come to you. So sleep is important. So you're sleep deprived, those natural killer cells will be deficient. See here, sleep deprived, it's lower than if you got adequate amount of sleep. And so make sure and go to bed. What time? Before 10 p.m. so that by 10 p.m. you are in bed sleeping. Okay, if the later you go to bed, you find that your immune system is lower. You wake up in the next morning with sinus-related issues, and and you feel weird and funny. It's always best to go to bed by 10. Wake up early if you need to handle anything, but going to bed and going to sleep in a dark room makes a huge difference in terms of the quality of sleep you get. And at some other point in time, we can talk about how you can improve and get good sleep. So exercise, it's hugely important in building our immune system. Now we are at home. You know, it's a perfect time for us to do every one of these health laws because you're not rushed. So you may be home and working from home, but the time that you would have spent in commuting, you can take that time in getting up early just the same and walking, exercising, you know, and our government still hasn't cracked down on telling us, you know, don't walk in our little environs. And hopefully you're living in the countryside where nobody is, you're not really interfacing with many people. And so just walk. Even if you can't go out of the home, what about in your yard? Even if you don't have a yard, you can do it one spot. Stand up in place by a window, an open window, so you get the fresh air. And you just mark time, left, right, move your arms in sync with that, and you would be getting your exercise. It's still better than none. You think it's boring? Well, start singing, praying, or put on, you know, a sermon that's an hour long. And especially if you have, you know, those lifestyle diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and so forth, you need an hour of walking every day in order to normalize those blood and sugar levels. And so exercise also helps to flush bacteria out of the lungs. It sends antibodies, which is your white blood cells, through the body at a quicker rate. So you do need help with your white blood cells, one, for their manufacture, and two, that they circulate through the body, and exercise will help us with that. So it improves these natural killer cells we talked about. It improves our immune resistance to viruses. We don't want to overdo. So it's one thing about exercise and moderate one. Walking is the best one because you get lots of your body in motion and in movement. When you walk, as opposed to jogging and running, you can put more pressure on your knees, your ankles, and your hips, and later on suffer for it when you're jogging regularly and running. Lots of people, you see them in their fame, you know, in their younger years, but later they do need like hip replacements, or they have, you know, they destroy their cartilage in those joint areas. So walking wouldn't do that to you. As well as if you're sick, your wait time's more improved when you walk than when you run, especially for, you know, heart-related issues. But strenuous exercise can be a threat. It actually, instead of increasing those natural killer cells, it decreases them, and it reduces the antibody production. It's like doing too much that you cause injury to yourself. So, you know, you want to exercise, but let it, you can do your brisk walk. When I talk about moderate, it can be a brisk walk, or even if you are not able to do a brisk, just simply walk. Just movement is important. So it elevates stress hormones, you know, when you over exercise and do those strenuous types. Morning, again, is the best one. Why? Morning time, best time to exercise, because it is, we're told in a book, Healthful Living, by the best author that we love to quote from, that has brought messages to our people, God's people in this time. Sister Ellen G. White, she said here that it is the surest safeguard against colds, coughs, congestion of the brain, inflammation of the liver, inflammation of the kidneys and the lungs, and 100 other diseases. Morning exercise, walking in the free, invigorating air of heaven. So those are the benefits when we do it in the morning time. That's the best time. In all cases, when it is possible, walking is the best remedy for diseased bodies. This is taken from Counsels on Health, page 200. So our diet plays a huge role, just the same. And we find that, you know, there are people who admit, and through my own experience, live it and see it, but there are also scientific research to show that vegetarians have stronger immune systems than people who eat meat. the studies of white blood cell samples from the vegetarians have shown them to have more than double the count of the white blood cells, more than double the cancer cell destroying ability than non-vegetarians. So, and even when it comes to the viruses and so forth, to be able to fight that, the total plant-based diet is the one that makes a remarkable difference in fighting those viruses. So basically it means eat no fish, chicken, turkey, lobster, shrimp, dairy in any form, animal, cheese, milk, butter, sugar, or unhealthy snacks, you know, with sugar in it. So I want to suggest that even now that there are folks, you know, who have topped up in their grocery supply and purchase a lot of things, but let us purchase those foods which are healthy foods. The flesh foods and the byproducts are not health promoting. And this time in which we're at and fighting and challenge with COVID-19 in our environment, I strongly recommend that it is a time more than ever for us to go total plant-based. So if you're one that would have a piece of fish, saltfish, sardine, mackerel, corned beef and those things, take them out of your diet. You're compromising your immune system. And it's not a happy scene if you have respiratory problems and there's nothing that the medical facility can do for you because the state you're in, the foods that you've been eating that has promoted mucus building within the body. So let's take this out. Let us not use cheese. Let us not use the butter. Even if it is for this time while COVID is around, that we refrain from it, you know, and by God's grace that you continue to do so because He do want you to be in health. And the health that you can be in does not include these flesh foods and the byproducts. So, you know, let's have all of the veggies. In them, you also get nutrition. So the provitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, these are key in building the immune system. So when you eat your colored foods, such as your yellow, your orange, your green, they help you to make vitamin A. Vitamin A is also found in sweet potatoes, melon, the cooked carrots, the cooked green leafies such as kale, spinach, the dasheen bush. You know, eat those things are rich in helping you to make vitamin A. Butter squash, romaine lettuce, you know, we don't have mangoes just now at this time, but sweet peppers, the red sweet peppers, you know, they are rich in producing vitamin E. The foods of the cruciferous family, the cabbage family, they're excellent for supporting your liver and building your immune system. They help your liver to flush out toxins. So cabbage, all forms of cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, you know, those foods are helpful. Proteins, we want to get our proteins from our peas and beans, and they do have adequate amounts, even more than what you could ever get in flesh foods. So our lentils, our black beans, our red beans, eat those regularly. They help to proteins form part of the structure for building and making cells, even those cells that are antibody cells. You also get in your protein through the form of even nuts and seeds provide protein, but they give you trace elements such as zinc, selenium, copper, those things which are essential for building antibodies and your immune system. Oats, amazingly, has antimicrobial and antioxidant capabilities, even more potent than echinacea, which is a herb known for boosting immunity. And so oats can be used as well. Increase your omega-3 fatty acids with walnuts and your flax seeds. Coconut, so if you can get a nice fresh coconut, you drink the water, you eat the jelly in it, that can help to boost your immune system as well. If you're using coconut oil, you just simply use like a teaspoon of it. I don't really promote the use of oils, especially with people who have heart-related issues, should not be using oils. But you can blend your coconut and use the fat from it, and it can be helpful in building your immune system. So no sugar, that actually lowers immunity. Sugar use, which is a normal table sugar that I'm talking about, it has basically no nutrition in it, as well as it prevents the destruction of bacteria and viruses that would come to the body because it lowers your antibody levels and immune system. Sorry. Do not overeat during this time. When you overeat, you lower your immune system because your white blood cells now has like too much of food that gets delayed in the body, and it can at some point be like foreign matter, and your white blood cells has to deal with that. Caffeine is another one that suppresses your immune system. So all caffeine related drinks and foods. So you're looking at your coffee, caffeine drinks, including chocolate and cocoa that has caffeine related items in there. Those should not be used. Carbonated drinks, so it's soft drinks, take them out, full of sugar, chemicals, coloring, those things which are toxic to the immune system. And more than that, the carbon substance in it lowers oxygen within your blood. And you're working at a situation here where you want more oxygen and to improve oxygen, so let's leave it alone. Alcohol, again, reduces antibody production if you're using alcohol, and it's like it reduces your antibody production. And this includes apple cider vinegar. Vinegar is a form of alcohol, and that will lower your antibody production. Let's drink instead water. Water helps to get our blood circulating, to remove toxins and waste through our lymphatic and our blood system. It also helps to promote bowel movement so that you're not constipated. In times like now, and even more, you want to be able to remove toxins from your blood by your bowel movements, regular bowel movements. So drink lots of water during this time. If you have fever, more than ever, you need to drink those water. So trust in divine power. What is happening now, I'm sure you would agree that it is unprecedented in our lifetime. And it is one, that causes us to think, especially as you look at life and our world through the lenses of prophecy. It is a time where we need to spend more time in prayer and Bible study, and also self-examine our lives, so to see whether we are in conformity with God's will and fit and ready for the kingdom. COVID, if it does come to you and you're struggling trying to recover, and unfortunately you do die, what is your state? No COVID, we still continue with life, but our world has changed. And everywhere, people don't even need to know Bible prophecies to say that our world has changed and it will never be the same. We have laws that are here and encroaching more to come that will change our world. So let us depend upon Christ and allow him to heal us both physically and spiritually. He is the one that healeth. Extend faith onto him and be able to see him work for us to shield us and protect us. Like one medical missionary actually said, in reflection, that applying the laws of health to your body is similar to her. She looks at it as, the one that would apply the blood on the doorpost in ancient Israel's time in Egypt, so that the angel of death will pass you by and not come to you. but God has promised. In fact, there's a quotation, it's not in here. He's promised, he's pledged himself, to protect us when we fall in harmony with his laws. I'll bring it in another next time we're presenting so that you can see that writing and where it's taken from. So you've heard a lot about hygiene and washing your hands regularly, as well as, wearing the mask. So do practice those things, washing and proper washing, and know that the virus can live on surfaces, on cardboard boxes for up to 24 hours, on plastics for up to 72 hours, that's 3 days, on stainless steel for up to 72 hours, especially if it is in a cold environment like AC and so forth. So when you go to the supermarket, you come back, you need to sanitize your stuff. They tell you, you wipe it down, you wash it with soap and water, those canned foods and so forth, wash them before you pack them. In fact, you wear gloves, you wear a mask as you go out, say. So holding, handrails, the car vehicles, doorknobs and so forth, they can teach us. They can have the virus that could be living on it, and then you come and it gets onto you, on your hands, and then you put that to your face. So the 70% of alcohol applied to, some mixture form of a hand sanitizer would help. And I think lots of these points we've covered already. So they're telling folks now to wear masks because they've identified that the spread can go from one person to another, especially if you are in an enclosed room and you have people in close proximity. That breath that comes out, it's amazing to see that, the droplets can fly out and you can have problems. So here is a recommendation for if you have aloe vera gel, 8 ounces of it, then you have 2 ounces of 70% alcohol, 20 drops of tea tree essential oil, 10 drops of eucalyptus essential oil, 10 drops of peppermint essential oil, and vitamin E oil can all be mixed together to make your own hand sanitizer. So, mentholated spirit can be used as the form of the alcohol in here. So you can just take any of those essential oils which help in fighting viruses, fungus, bacteria, because as you saw in that COVID structure of that cell, there are like about 4 different types of bacteria on the outside coating of that virus. So that's why to us it's living so long, because it has its own host. It's a virus that is housed within a bacteria, and so the bacteria can last a longer time on surfaces. So vitamin E oil, aloe vera, you mix it with some alcohol, 70% of those kinds of alcohol, and you shake that together and you have your own. This is a recommendation for Lysol spray. You take water, a bottle of water, and you add 10 to 20 drops of an essential oil like rosemary, tea tree, or lavender, and you add the 2 ounces of 70% alcohol, and you can use that to wipe your surfaces. Okay, so there we have an overview as well as how you can build your immune system. If you have not been doing this yet, hopefully you have been. But if there's something here that you have not been doing, begin putting it into practice today. Maybe it might mean going to sleep on time tonight. Put yourself to bed. Don't fall asleep in front of the television, or you're just reading something and you drop off. Put yourself to bed. And adults have bedtimes too. It's not just for kids. That's why the kids have so much more energy, because they go to sleep. But let's put ourselves, go to bed before 10 p.m. tomorrow. Look for that sun and go out into the sunlight. You can wear some cotton clothing that keep you cool, but get out into that sunlight and it's going to make a remarkable difference. Change the diet, eat more of the healthy. So hopefully we will meet again, and pretty soon we schedule another session where I want to share with you what if you do contract COVID, what you can do. And also there are some hydrotherapies that you can use. And I have a couple stories that I can share of people who have been exposed to COVID and what they are doing, and you know, interfacing with them every day. So I shared 2 stories here tonight, but I have some more, what they're doing every day so that they do not contract it and do not have it. And even for others who have contracted and we've seen them and held their hand to make it through, what you can do to break a fever, what you can do if you feel congested. There are some natural things that you can do within your home and be able to overcome that. So I'd like to stop the recording now as we take any questions, maybe. Okay,